And I was like, ooh, this is a surprise. Wasn't expecting to hear this on here. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah if you are new here, and if you're not new here, welcome back. I do reactions and reviews, and today I'm coming at you with another, I guess, reaction and review about Downfalls High, and this will be my third Machine Gun Kelly related review, or my fourth. What is it? 1, 2, 3. So I've done a reaction to Concert for Aliens and My Ex's Best Friend when those singles were first released. I also did a ranking of the album Tickets to My Downfall, kind of ranking my top favorites, my least favorite song. And now I'm going to kind of just go through Downfalls High with you, kind of talk about my favorite moments of the movie, and just kind of talk about the concept and what I thought about it. So I'm going to slide over a little bit so I can insert some clips from the movie so you can follow along. Now make sure you've already watched it, otherwise this is totally going to be a spoiler for you. So when he first teased that there was a movie coming out and he said we're making a movie, I didn't really know what to expect, what that really meant. So I know he's working on a lot of projects right now, so when he said we're making a movie, I didn't know who was all going to be involved. I just was excited to see it no matter what it was going to be. So then, fast forward a couple of months when the trailer was finally released, I saw Sydney Sweeney right away, who I recognize from Euphoria. Now I know she's in a lot of other projects, Handmaid's Tale I think, and some other things, but I know her from Euphoria. And I actually didn't recognize anyone else in the trailer. So the other main character is Chase Hudson, otherwise known as Little Huddy. I didn't know anything about him, so I guess that shows my pop culture knowledge, if you will. When the trailer was released, I still didn't really know what was going on, but I was like, okay, so it seems like it takes place in a high school, and I wasn't sure if it was going to go in order of the album, if it was going to cover every single song. I had no clue, so I didn't have any expectations. I made sure to avoid all spoilers before watching it, so I decided when I had an hour, I was going to sit down, watch it from start to finish, but I did take a few notes during it just so I could make my review. So we start off with title track. So that made me think, okay, we are going in order from start to finish of the album. We start off with title track, and we are seeing, this psych hospital maybe, and we see like a little patient badge or a patient ID card for Phoenix. You see a patient, I'm assuming is him, getting wheeled around in this facility. You also see MGK in there too. Another thing I like about this is that he's pretty much intermingled within the scenes of the high schoolers too. So although the movie is telling a story, himself, Travis Barker, and then some other artists that are featured on his songs throughout the movie are also in here. So it's almost like an extended music video, but at the same time it's intermingling a storyline. So super cool, I like that concept. So title track is kind of just showing us this main character, Phoenix, that he's in maybe some type of mental institution. So I'm like, interesting, because we know from the trailer that this is a main character, so how did we get here? We find out at the end of this clip that this was 8 months later. So it's gonna take us back 8 months and show us how we ended up here. So when Kiss Kiss starts, that's when it shows 8 months earlier, after a reporter tells us that some kid, Phoenix, cut off his ear at graduation. So I'm like, oh, so that's what landed him in that facility. Interesting. I wonder what made him get to that point, So we're gonna find out. So I love Kiss Kiss because it showed MGK and everyone just driving around in the car. And so I like different aspects of each song and each scene, if you will. So I like this one because he's just like riding around in the car. This is when you really get a first look at some of the characters. So it's kind of showing Phoenix and Sydney Sweeney's character, Scarlett, and her friends who they're hanging out with. So we finally start seeing more glimpses of the high school, the students, seeing what cliques are hanging out with each other. So this was a good introductory song too, to kind of show us all the characters. This is also when Scarlett first sees Phoenix and kind of he catches her eye, just because her and her friends are playing kind of like a spin the bottle game. Instead of a bottle though, it's like a knife. So they're playing like a spin the knife game. It lands on him. That's when she sees him. So fast forward to the next song. Drunk Face is when they all start hanging out for the first time. So they all hang out together, and Drunk Face, if you saw my other review, you know this is one of my favorite songs. And so there's something about the vibes of this song is just always so good, and it fit perfectly to me. In my head, it fit perfectly with the scenes. So they're in a car, they're driving around, just hanging out with each other, and it goes perfectly with the lyrics of the song, in my opinion. I also thought it paralleled perfectly with the Drunk Face music video, because essentially that's what he's doing in the music video. And so to me, it's almost just like a perfect parallel, and I thought it was great. So for Bloody Valentine, this is where Scarlett and Phoenix are pretty much officially becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. The whole vibe is just very romantic and cutesy, and showing them just hanging out with each other. You know, super cute. I like it. Always a good song too. So then there was a brief pause before we get into the next track, Forget Me Too, where Scarlett and Phoenix had stopped in some type of store and Body Bag started playing, and that got me excited because that's on the deluxe version of the album, the track that features Youngblood. And I was like, ooh, this is a surprise. Wasn't expecting to hear this on here. But of course, as every couple goes through the good times, they also go through the bad times. And that's what we're seeing in this next scene. They clearly are going through some type of negative phase, fighting for some reason. And this is where we're getting into the Forget Me Too song, which totally makes sense when you think about the song in general. A female and a male voice going back and forth, maybe some type of toxic relationship. That is what's happening here. We don't really know what the fight was for sure about, but we know something is going on here. But thinking about how MGK is in this scene, I just love the aesthetic of this whole scene. I mean, the red pants, so to me that's thinking like anger. It's like anger, and then like the background colors and everything too. I just really love the aesthetic of this song. And he has his haircut in this scene too, so I wonder if they like filmed this one last. But we did get a chance to see that sneak peek of her looking at a pregnancy test. So I'm also wondering, are they arguing because he already knows about the pregnancy? Did she get pregnant by someone else? So like, did she cheat on him? Or are they just arguing about it because, you know, they weren't expecting that and they are just mad because they weren't being careful? We don't know at this point what they're arguing about. And they haven't told us if he knows about the pregnancy or not. So it kind of just seems like at this point, they aren't on speaking terms and they're just not doing good right now. Now, for all I know, this music video part was very interesting, how it kind of goes back and forth between like Trippie Redd and MGK kind of just hanging out and vibing, and then it goes to a scene where MGK is like in a box and there are a bunch of people kind of like sticking their head and arms through the box trying to like get to him, and he's just like hanging out in the box. So I'm wondering if this is supposed to represent like, I don't know, like all I know is I don't know nothing. But all these people are trying to just talk at me, like, you know, like the lyrics say. I'm assuming that's what that was supposed to be representative of. However, it does seem like at the end of this scene, they make up. She buys him a nice guitar, and it's pink, of course, you know, kind of just replicating MGK's guitar. And so they seem to be on good terms. Maybe it's a makeup gift, but at this point, we're assuming everything's all good between them. And she wants to talk about something later, maybe the pregnancy. But she says she has to go do something, but she'll be back in a little bit. So I'm thinking like, well, what does she have to go do? So then, why did you do this, Coulson? Why? Why? She leaves, she gets in a car accident, she dies in a car accident. Why? She doesn't get to tell him she was pregnant. Obviously, he is distraught. I mean, all the friends are distraught too. Of course, it makes sense because Lonely is the next song on the album, and that's the song that's coming up next. But it's like, in my head, I'm thinking, I knew that song was coming next, but I didn't know what was really gonna happen to make it so sad and relevant to the storyline. So it kind of just goes through, you know, everyone grieving, her friends, Phoenix, and just kind of a sad moment in the story. Transitioning to World War III, obviously, we know stages of grief. One of them is anger, and I think that's what Phoenix is feeling right now because he gets into a fight and he gets arrested while World War III is playing. It's very fitting. In the meantime, MGK is doing a voiceover pretty much saying like, you know, everyone is gonna fall and have a downfall, but just try to find a soft place to land. So at the same time, this soft place to land for Phoenix seems to be a band. So Scarlett had gotten him that guitar, you know, him and his friends are going to start a band. This kind of seems like it could be a new beginning for him, or at least be something that he can kind of occupy his mind with, at least for now. Something instead of just sitting around and constantly thinking about Scarlett. So what was so funny is while they're starting to practice, and then I noticed that they're practicing drumming, then one of the bandmates goes, "Damn bro, you're better than Travis Barker." And then I was like, wait a second, like, is that Travis Barker's son? I'm like, hold on a second. So I had to go to Instagram and look it up because I was like, I swear that is Travis Barker's son. It looks just like him, and it is him. So Travis Barker's son is in the movie too, which I think is awesome, and he's in the band. So it was just a fun way to have him included. So if you didn't know, that's Landon, Travis Barker's son. So they're getting ready for their first show, and Hangover Cure plays in the background too. So kind of just another way to kind of sneak in one of the deluxe songs on there without fully dedicating a whole scene to it. But that was fun. So they're going to play this show in their small town, putting up signs just like you would if you're starting a band and you're new. So it's their live show. The thing I liked about this scene in itself is that they're playing Concert for Aliens, which of course is just fun, but also because it's the first song where the actors are actually like lip syncing the whole song and in its entirety, or pretty much most of it. So up until now, it's kind of just been like acting out a story or just words with the song playing over it. But here we finally have them actually like lip syncing the whole song. And that's kind of what I thought might be happening in the very beginning when I heard that this was happening. Like, I didn't know if it was going to actually be more like musical style versus movie, but this was the first song that made it definitely seem more like a musical, if that makes sense. I think Concert for Aliens had one of like the funnest vibes to it, because not only was it showing the band performing the song, but then when it showed MGK and Travis Barker and the band performing the song, they had that weird like puke thing going on in the background, which was kind of funny but kind of weird too. So it actually seems like Phoenix is having a good time, so you kind of like feel good about it because it's like, oh great, he actually like is smiling a little bit. He seems like he's like just living his life, finally finding something that might make him happy, at least for now. That being said, I'm still wondering how we are going to go from this to what we saw at the very beginning. So in the meantime, one of Scarlett's friends is like, he's mine, like she's kind of eyeing him. And then the other friend makes a joke like, Scarlett's ghost is going to haunt you. So after the show, the friends invite the band over to their house for an after party. In the meantime, my ex's best friend starts playing, very appropriate, because Scarlett's friend is pretty much eyeing Phoenix, and you know, she's interested in him, but Phoenix just really isn't having it. Clearly his heart is still with Scarlett, but it's very appropriate that that song is playing in the background. I also think this is kind of just another thing to show, like, you know, he had this opportunity to go play with his band. Now he has a girl pretty much showing interest in him, but at the same time, these things aren't really making him happy. But it seems like things that you would say, oh, this is a good opportunity for you. Oh, this is something that should be interesting. This should make you happy, but it doesn't matter. Like, if someone's not happy, they're not happy, and things aren't just going to make them happy because you think that they would. Then Jawbreaker, just kind of chilling, just kind of some weird vibes. It seems like Phoenix is just kind of going through something at this point, and I think he's kind of realizing that too. So he's kind of just like annoyed with his friends, annoyed with his bandmate that he released this song without his permission, getting a tattoo of Scarlett's name, just kind of in one of those funks, you know? Then Nothing Inside, I think, is when Phoenix is pretty much just kind of, it's hitting him. Like, I mean, he really doesn't feel anything. He's been going through this. I mean, obviously, like, that would be traumatic for anybody, but you can't just like fill your grief with all these different activities. It's going to catch up with you eventually. And so of course it's fitting, you know, I did this all for you, look what I turned into, because you're grieving, and that's just what he's going through. He does seem like he gets back into it with the band, so he's still kind of hanging out with his bandmates, but seems like he's just surviving at this point. I will point out that the Ian and MGK scene is very interesting too. Kind of showing him just like operating on him, you know, taking things out, so literally leaving nothing inside. So that was very interesting as well. The interlude is just showing Phoenix pretty much like visiting Scarlett's grave, and he's even sleeping there, which is just so sad. I mean, I can relate to losing someone, not like a significant other, but of course like my grandparents, and I've always wanted to just like be able to like just take a blanket and have a picnic there, but the cemetery actually doesn't allow that because it's a national cemetery. But I can definitely understand why that is comforting, but it's just so sad. And finally, we get to the last song of the traditional album, which is Play This When I'm Gone. And it's pretty much just Phoenix finding Scarlett's purse because her friend had it. And he was like, well, why do you have her purse? Like, no, that's hers. He takes it and he looks and he sees her journal in there. And I'm thinking like, no, no, no. I know where this is going. Do not go there. And it went there. He found her journal, and in there, there's a journal entry, and it shows that it says she's pregnant, and that's it. That's what sends him over the edge. So that is what gets us to graduation, which gets us to the ear cutting off and gets him into the mental facility. And that's where the movie ends. Then it also ends showing Machine Gun Kelly just out in the audience, kind of just like staring at the stage. I think there's a few things to unpack here. I mean, first off, I think Machine Gun Kelly looks like he's just having a blast in general. I think it's just a super unique concept, and I know it's not like 100% original. I thought I read in the comment section somewhere that Fall Out Boy had did something kind of similar before, but I personally haven't seen it. This is the first time I've seen something like this, but in general, it's a super cool concept, and I loved it. The actors all did really great. I mean, I've seen Sydney and things before, and Lil Huddy seemed perfect for the role. I mean, I don't know if he has history of acting at all, but, and I don't know what his normal like style is, but he seemed like he fit into the role perfectly. But it seemed like Machine Gun Kelly himself was having a really fun time just like performing, because it wasn't just like one music video. It was just a music video essentially for every single song. It seemed like he was smiling and laughing and having fun, just like doing fun things, like the facial reactions. You can tell, like, if you haven't seen it, make sure you go watch it. It just seems like he's like out there, not caring at all, just having fun. And so I think that was probably my favorite part. It just seemed not as much of like an orchestrated music video, because it seemed like the orchestrated part and the directional part of it came from the actor side of it, so the movie side of it. And then when it showed like just him performing himself, he was just doing whatever felt right in the moment. So I did like that. I also liked that the movie didn't have a happy ending, and I think that was pretty much important. If I can find it, I will link the video below. I think he said in an interview that's kind of it. Like, you don't just have a love, you lose them, and then you just move on and everything's perfect. I think he said something about, you know, you go through something like this, you lose someone, and you're not just going to move on right away, if at all. So that's reality. So I think that's what he wanted to portray here. Not just like a typical movie, you know, like there's always the movies where it's like, it's a happy ending no matter what. You lose someone, then you meet someone else and you fall for them and you run off and it's happily ever after. So you almost could have seen that happening here if Phoenix would have, you know, started the band. They went off and they had great success. He ran off with Scarlett's friend, or he met someone else. So this could have went a completely different direction, but Machine Gun Kelly didn't want it to go that way, because that's really not reality most of the time. He wanted to say, no, like something happens, your downfall, and sometimes you're not moving on. So totally like the concept. I would love for this kind of trend to continue, whether it's with his albums or other bands' albums as well. I love how each song and each scene kind of has its own aesthetic too. And so it kind of is just going along with whatever mood it is. If it's like a light and fun song, it seems like it's kind of like fun colors and stuff like that. Whereas if it's a more sad or serious song, obviously the scene is set a little differently with maybe some darker, gloomier colors, which makes sense, but I like that that was featured. Overall, that's just kind of like my opinion. I would say my favorite scenes were, I like the aesthetic of Forget Me Too the most, I think. I liked Drunk Face when it comes to Machine Gun Kelly's performance and like just having fun. I liked Drunk Face and My Ex's Best Friend. And also I would say All I Know too, especially when he says like, my label hates that I'm like this. He kind of just like flicks off the camera. So he seems like he's having fun with it. I also love in the movie how there's kind of like a back and forth between, I guess maybe like a normal production camera, like a high resolution camera, filming camera, and then kind of like a DVD type footage where it makes it look like old, even though it's not. So I love that going back and forth. And then I also love how the music isn't 100% how it is on the album. Volume increases, or there's certain parts where maybe like the instrumentals will drop out and it'll just be the vocals. So there are some new aspects to the songs in this movie, which I also loved. But overall, I give it a 10 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts below if you liked it or what your favorite part of it was. Other than that, make sure you subscribe if you want to see more Machine Gun Kelly content, more reactions, more reviews, and let me know what I should review next. I will see you in my next video.